Yeah.
So what are some of the marketing things, the rudiment, the basics that a business owner should be doing to get the word out there to market their business?
I'm a big believer that you have to just show up, right? I think people tend to look for businesses and then they want to see that the business has a website. They want to see that the business has a Facebook page. They want to see that if the business is on Instagram, even better. I think having a presence on social media platforms and also the ones that are relevant to your business.
I'm Gordon De Silva, a business owner just like you, who has been in the trenches and come out the other side to own a business that delivers an incredible life and an incredible opportunity to help others. I've gone from working too hard, being stressed and unprepared for business life and the challenges it brings, to owning businesses that help me change clients' lives and gives me more freedom than I ever thought possible. And that never even existed as a daydream. I created the Talking Business with Gordon podcast to offer you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you are an ambitious business owner or just starting out on the journey, looking to create a business that creates an impact, but also a business that delivers the life you love, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today we're talking to Rachel Leslie. Rachel Leslie is a marriage and family therapist, but we're not talking about that this week. We're talking about how to run a business. And Rachel has some great skills in this area. We're going to have some fun, so let's get started. Series 1, Episode 10. Hello, and welcome. This is Gordon De Silva, and today we have got a really, really special guest. Her name is Rachel Leslie, and I'm going to let her explain what she does because she is a serial entrepreneur. She has done so many different things. I think it's going to be a very interesting interview. So without further ado, Rachel, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Pleasure. Rachel, tell the audience a little bit about you, what you do. You're from Connecticut, right?
Yes. So I'm, go ahead.
It's quite warm there right now, I imagine, compared to London.
No. No, Connecticut's actually, today it's about 40 degrees and raining. We're in the Northeast in New England. Cool. Yeah, so it's cold.
Yeah. No, I got, my geography is not as good as it should be for Connecticut. So I put it on my bucket list when all this travel restrictions lift, I'm going to be there. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Rachel.
So I'm a marriage and family therapist. And I also do work consulting with other therapists on how to start their own private practice, which is a result of me having owned my own businesses for a number of years prior to becoming a therapist. So I had a jewelry business for a number of years where I designed and created jewelry and sold direct to retail, and then also sold wholesale to stores all over the United States. And I actually sold to stores in South Africa as well. And then prior to that, I was a teacher, a high school English teacher for 15 years. It's been a long road of different things.
It's been an interesting road, by the sounds of it. And if you take jewelry as an example, that is quite a competitive industry, isn't it? So you will know a lot about competition and how to get a brand or how to get a business going when there's really heavy competition.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I decided to change paths and become a therapist, it didn't really occur to me how the things I had done prior would come into play in the role of a therapist. But it's been extremely helpful in understanding how to market myself and brand myself, which is how I kind of fell into helping other clinicians do the same thing. Yeah.
Love to talk about that. So right now, did you say you're a marriage counselor? Is that what you do?
Yeah, marriage and family therapy. But I also work with individuals. So it's a different lens, different model.
And what you've also started doing is training other people, other therapists, other counselors do the same thing. Is that what you just said you're going to do? You do?
Yeah, to teach them how to start their own private practice. So in our field, you have to be fully licensed before you can hang a shingle and start a business for yourself. So a lot of us kind of get caught up in doing agency work, which is very low paying, very grueling, lots of hours, but amazing experience. But it does not prepare you at all on how to run your own business. And in that world, it's not part of our training, and it's not part of the profile of the kind of people that go into therapy. No. So I found that there was a need amongst my colleagues to learn how to start a private practice. And so I have my own way that I did it, how I started small and part-time and built it up. And so I started getting a lot of inquiries from people that I met in my career who were interested in kind of doing the same thing. And like I started helping them. And then I started getting phone calls from friends of friends and more phone calls. And then eventually I said, wait.
Success, the price of success. How cool is that? And the funny thing is, my background is accounting, and people think, oh, being an accountant, you understand business. But, just like you, we weren't taught how to run a business.
Right.
We were taught how to do accounts.
Right.
And the two are so different. Just because you can add up some figures doesn't mean you can run a business adding up figures.
For sure. But the finance,
yeah.
the numbers are like a big part of running a business, any business. You have to have that understanding,
Well, we look at numbers across the board. Accounting numbers are probably about 50% of the stuff we look at when we're working with businesses. The other 50% are non-accounting numbers, things that don't appear on a balance sheet or a profit and loss anywhere. But that's a different question. That's another time. So when you're advising these people who are not, they didn't really do this because they want to go into business. They went into it because they liked helping people. Would that be fair?
Yeah, that's super fair.
And so how the mindset shift from having, I just want to help people, to I want to help people, but I also want to make a living. I want to look after my family, look after myself, and put food on the table, all that sort of stuff. How is that? How does that work out for these? I mean, what do you have to do towards that?
Well, you have to get over the fear, right? It's a lot of just for me in my role when I work with these clinicians, it's a lot about like giving them the confidence that they can do it, and showing them that it's not that hard, because people get very hung up. It's when you work in the agency world, you don't really have any hand in the numbers, right? You're not seeing what the work you're doing is bringing in. You're not doing billing. You're not understanding things like CPT codes, which you need to bill insurance companies. There's a lot of stuff that seems very overwhelming and
you don't have to
difficult.
bring the work in.
What's that?
You don't have to bring the work in either. Somebody's giving you the work.
Right. That's the other piece. Yeah.
That's a major part, isn't it?
It is. It is. The thing about therapy that's kind of cool is there's enough for everybody.
But you still need to know how to go and get it, right?
Yeah, you have to know how to let people know that you're there. You have to figure out how to say, hey, I'm here if you want some help.
And that is a skill as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us how the journey goes for these people you help. I mean, it sounds like a brilliant service. How do you, what are the stages you take them through to help them run their own business?
Yeah, well, I actually have like a 5 area kind of approach. The first thing we do is we look at the legal business aspects. Like, how are you setting up your business? What are you calling yourself? Do you have all of the numbers and paperwork and things that you need in order to legitimately start a practice, right? And the cool thing about that piece is that you can do that as soon as you graduate, before you get licensed. You can get all that stuff in place. So that's the first aspect. Then we talk about finances, and we talk about what kind of money are you looking to make? I have a formula that I work with people about that helps them figure out what their average price should be. Like, what should you be charging? How many hours a week do you need to work? How many weeks a year do you need to work in order to reach your financial goals? So setting financial goals for your practice is super important. And then I also share with them different ways that they can manage things like billing and manage things like taxes and accounting. And in every step of the way, I say to them, you could do this yourself, or you can hire someone to do it for you. That's up to you. I kind of give them different options for managing those things. And we kind of develop a financial plan for the practice. The third step is all the clinical pieces, which is very specific to my industry. We use electronic health records. We see people in person. We see people on video. We do a hybrid. There's different ways you can set up your practice. There's paperwork you need. There's equipment you need. Like whether it's an office space or your home office, you still need a computer. You need a HIPAA secure email provider. You need a fax. You need a cell phone. There's all the things for the clinical piece we take care of there. And then after that's all set up, then we can kind of talk about, all right, how are you marketing yourself? How are you putting yourself out into the world? What are you setting up? Do you have a website? Do you have a profile? Do you have Instagram, Facebook? What are you looking to do? And then how to network with other people that are going to send you referrals. And then the last piece that we talk about is just setting up for growth. So long-term, how are you going to save for retirement? What are you going to study? What specialties do you want to pursue? And kind of planning the future of your practice. So that's kind of the 5 steps that we go through in order to get set up.
It sounds like a really A to Z type approach, which is really beautiful to see.
Yeah.
I want to just go back and touch on a couple of things you said there.
Sure.
And one of them was to set up these financial goals, because a lot of business owners that I come across, and I think therapists are just business owners, just called therapists, right?
Sure.
A lot of business owners, they go, I just want to go and earn some money. Or I just want to make some money. I want to have a really nice car. I want to have a nice house. I want to go on holidays. Let's go to it, right? They don't actually sit down and plan it all out. And if they do, they're only planning it out for the sake of getting into a bank loan. They're not planning it out to use. They set up this. In the early days, I used to do loads of business plans. 20, 30, 100 pages, which were just into the top drawer and never seen again after they got the loan. Yeah. How do you, the fact that you talk to them about money so much, and these guys aren't money people by definition, right? They're people who want to help people. How does that go down? How do you get past the reticence of, I'm not good at numbers. Money's not the thing. How do you do that?
That's a great question, because it is usually the thing that holds people up the most. Is just not being good with numbers. I can't do math. I can't keep books. It's pretty simple though, because like I said, people are predominantly working in agencies or working for group practices where they're not being compensated for their time well. And so once you kind of share with them, like just as an example, let's say a therapist who's been working in a clinical setting with a nonprofit agency, they're bringing home their take-home pay is, $1,000 a week after taxes. Once we do the formula of like what they need to charge in order to make their goals, or even before then, I'll say to those people, like, that's 10 clients, right? That's 10 private clients a week. How many hours are you working a week at your job? And they're usually working between 40 and 50 hours a week to make that $1,000. Right? It's that has been consistently across the board. The moment where everyone's like, oh my God, I can get 10 clients. I can totally get 10 clients. That's not hard, right? And actually I'm a very big fan of baby steps, right? All these people have jobs. They're working someplace for the most part. Very few therapists graduate from a program and hang a shingle. We're just not prepared for it. You need experience in the field. You need supervision. So most people that I work with have been working at a very low paying agency job, right? To get their hours and experience in. So, I'm a big fan in what I preach in my trainings is that you should start small. Figure out how many extra hours a week you could dedicate to building your practice and start with a small goal and start, and that's like across the board with finances, like get one client, figure out how to build that one client, how to track the income from that one client, get it down before you add the second client. And same thing with insurance companies and paneling, because that's a big referral source for clinicians when we take health insurance. But like the insurance agencies are all different. They all have different requirements and ways to bill and time frames that they get back to you in. And so I'm just a very big fan of like one thing at a time, baby steps, slow go, and then build, And when you get to a place where you have those 10 clients and you're making the same amount of money you're making at your agency job, then you can think about giving your notice, and just going to work for yourself. So
I'm a big fan of baby steps as well.
Yeah.
Although some business owners, they go into business thinking that, I can, and this is the path I know I took and a lot of business owners take, is that they go, well, I've done it for someone else. I want to do it for myself and do a better job and get more for money. My employer is charging me out at, $300 an hour, and he's paying me $50 an hour or something, right?
Exactly.
I want to go and be able, I can charge $100 an hour. And that unfortunately isn't really a brilliant recipe for starting a business, because undercharging what everyone else is charging as a business model is not brilliant. I mean, you talk about pricing. What is your view on how to price? And I know this service is sort of not a community service, but you know what I mean? It's like a helping people type service. But how do you help people charge more? Do you help them charge more, charge a premium more?
Well, it depends, right? It really depends on where you're located and what the going rates are in your neck of the woods. And if you're taking insurance, I try to get people to just really think about their long-term goal, because you can always up your rates in our field. You can start someone out at $75 a session, and then a year later say, I'm raising my rates to 100. And then you can do stuff like that. And people do that. But when I'm helping clinicians figure out their financial plan, the way that I do it is I say, okay, what's your end goal? How much do you want to take home at the end of the year? We subtract the overhead. We figure out how many weeks of vacation you want and all that stuff. And we come up with like if you want to work 20 hours a week and, see 20 clients, you need to charge X amount of dollars. And then if that number is too high for some people, or they're worried they're not going to be able to get clients, part of our profession is also providing services for low income. Ethically, we try to do that. So the one thing that I help clinicians with is figuring out a formula for their practice to figure out how they get that average number that they want, but by still seeing some low paying clients, taking some insurances, and then charging their full fee. And I encourage everybody to have a full fee that's robust, that gives them a lot of wiggle room, so that if they get a client that can't afford it, they can slide down and still be okay with what they're getting. Right. So that's kind of where we look at things. And in my practice, like 20% of my practice are low income clients. I would say about 60% are insurance clients, and then the top 20% are full fee clients. And in doing that, I've exceeded my financial goals for the year. So
that's brilliant, because we have a similar approach when we're looking at business goals for business owners. Mm-hmm. In that we sort of go, well, what do you want to earn? And they go, well, I want to earn as much as I can. Whatever's left after I've done my work and I've paid my bills, that's what I earn. And the way I demonstrate it to them is go, like, just say you've got a business right now, and often my clients have businesses already, mm-hmm. and they have a business. And they've got, they've got a profit of let's call it 100,000, and they go, well, I'm making 100,000, and I go, well, how many hours are you doing? And we go, oh, I don't do that many. And I go, well, let's just look at it. And they go, did you work Mondays to Fridays? Yeah. What time do you start work? And it's 7 in the morning. And what time do you finish work? Oh, it's 7 at night. Do you work weekends? Oh, yeah, I do my books and I do my emails and all this sort of stuff. And we work out that sometimes they can be on under $20 an hour.
Right.
Hang on, is that really, they start off thinking I'm really doing well on 100 grand. Mm-hmm. They go, well, and I said, look, couldn't you go work for someone else and earn more than $20 an hour? And they go, oh yeah, we could earn 50, 60, 80, 100, $100. And I just go, well, that is really what we've got to start off with. We've got to go, look, you want to work 40 hours a week if you want to work 40 hours. You want to work 45 weeks a year if you want to work 45 weeks a year. Now let's look at what you need to then build and how much you're going to, what you've got to get your clients. And sometimes it's that swapping around that is such a revelation. Would you say that when they look at, I think you said that as yourself, when they've got 10, I only need 10 clients and I can do that.
Yeah. And then when we
moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially when I say that, because the workbook that I created for the clinicians to use, it has like dream big, right? So that's like just a general formula, plug in all the things for your like bare minimum, like what do you want to earn? And then there's one that's like less hours. And then there's another one that's like more money, and it's really exciting when you figure it out and you're like, oh man, if I see 25 clients a week instead of 20 clients, I could make double the amount of money, or whatever the formula comes out to. You can really, it's not as daunting as it seems. It just seems very daunting when you've never looked into it at all. Right.
No, I never really thought we were going to talk numbers the way we have. Fantastic. It's actually fantastic. Let's switch over and talk a little bit about marketing. And give us a couple of things that business owners, I know you work with therapists, but if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, I'm not a therapist, it doesn't apply to me. Well, it does, because you're a business owner and we've already shown similarities between them. Yeah. So what are some of the marketing things, the basics that a business owner should be doing to get the word out there to market their business?
I'm a big believer that you have to just show up, right? I think people tend to look for businesses and then they want to see that the business has a website. They want to see that the business has a Facebook page. They want to see that if the business is on Instagram, even better. I think having a presence on social media platforms and also the ones that are relevant to your business. So for us therapists, there's a bunch of places where we can advertise our services. The biggest one is called Psychology Today, and that's where most people go to look for therapists. Having a robust profile on there is actually the most important thing that every therapist has to have. But in terms, like before, you were asking me about competition, and one of the ways that you stand out from your competition is by having a visible presence across social media. So I'm a big fan. I don't care if your webpage is one page with a picture of you in the corner and like just a contact number, but having a website legitimizes you in the eyes of the consumer, right? And then having when you go to for us, when you go to Psychology Today, it says like website, and then you click on the website and the website has links to your Twitter and your LinkedIn and your Facebook and your Instagram, and you can you can look and see like, oh, this is a legit person. They're everywhere. I think that is more important than anything. Your website could be 12 years old. As long as it's up there and it's still presenting what it is that you do, then you're good. So that's.
When you look at websites, though, I know just having a website is the base.
Sure.
Are there a couple of things that you think that business owners should have on their website? Do you think are there any ingredients that you would say would be really important to have on your website? I know the links to that is really key. The links to your Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, all that. Are there any other elements that you think would be really nice to see on a website?
I think contact forms, like being able to contact directly from the website, is great. For my field, it's been really interesting, actually, because I have a booking widget on my website where people can book their own consultations. And that's been interesting. I think it's like a generational difference. I find the younger clients tend to use that. Yeah. And, rather than email me or call me, they'll just set it up through my system. Older clients or older people tend to send me a contact form or a message. But I think having multiple ways for clients to contact you is important on the website. And I think the other thing that's really important is the content, especially on the homepage, that it speaks to your clients. The website I have up now for my practice is new. I worked on it over the spring and summer. I actually hired a coach to help me with the content because I wanted to get the right kinds of clients. I didn't want people calling me that were going to not be a good fit for my practice. And I'm a very specific kind of therapist. A lot of therapists do what's called supportive therapy, where they listen and they give feedback, and they're more about like just supporting the client in getting through whatever is challenging them in that time. And I am a very direct, goal-oriented, action-focused therapist. I'm going to give you homework, and if you don't do it, we're going to have a conversation about it. My clients need to understand that the work of therapy happens between the sessions, right? So I wanted to make sure that that was very clear on the website. And I'm sharing this because I think it is relevant to all business owners. All business owners have clients they want to work with, and then clients that they'll tolerate, right? So if you can language your website to attract the clients who are going to say, "Ooh, that's my kind of person. I'm going to hire them." I've found that my website has consistently, whenever I ask clients, "How'd you find me?" They're like, "Oh, I went on your website and I really liked that you said this," or, "I just felt like you were the right fit." And I'm really thankful for that.
Absolutely perfect, because I think every website, every business should have that. Because one of my coaches has said to me, like, a website needs to attract the right people and repel the wrong people.
Yes.
And there are, and people go, repel the right, why do you want to repel anyone? Because you don't want to waste your time with people who don't understand, or don't want to work with somebody like you. Because a bit like your situation, in fact, so similar to, it's incredible, is that in a lot of coaching, they tell you don't give solutions. Right. Just help them find their own solutions. And I'm thinking, all right, I could spend 4 weeks with someone helping them find a solution that I could give them in week 1 and coach them to get the benefit. So in week 4, it's all done and dusted.
Yeah.
And I couldn't hand on heart wait 4 weeks for them to discover it themselves if I could give it to them, day 1. It's just, but that's who I am. And it sounds as though, you're similar that if they want to be helped, then let's get some help. Let's get it done. And I think that's really powerful. So I ask all my guests this towards the end. You're a successful entrepreneurial person. Our business is called Success Story Builder. Tell us some of the building blocks that have helped build your success in the way you would see it for your journey so far.
I definitely think, so I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. Like, my parents owned their own business when I was growing up while they were both teachers. My mom had a very successful children's clothing company. So I kind of grew up in a home seeing modeled for me that you can work a regular steady job and then also have a side hustle that brings you in the extra income, and that eventually that side hustle can turn into your passion project and your business. So I think that really influenced me way more than I gave it credit for when I was younger. So that helped. But I also really think failure was my most valuable teacher.
Really? Tell me
Yes.
about it.
Well, my jewelry business was quite successful, but but not successful enough where it could sustain me as a single parent who lives in Fairfield County, which is one of the most expensive places you can live in the United States, is where I live. And so, you know, I had dreams of where I wanted it to go, but I couldn't really take it there in the stage of life that I was in. And it wasn't aligned with my passions, which was something I figured out very late in the game. Like, I love creating and making things, but that's not all that I love. And if I just did that, I would get bored, which is what ended up happening. And so, you know, having to walk away from, I had a couple of iterations of this business over the years. And at each time, when it ended, it was kind of like well, I could have done that better, you know, like I could have done that differently. And so I think that having those failures along the way and having those challenges, like of not being successful at what I was trying to do, even though like from the outside, it probably looked very successful. I just, those really helped me. And especially now, like as what I do now, like I feel like I've been very successful at it. I've made money, I've been able to save money, and it's growing at the right pace. And I think that the only reason that I've been able to do that is because of the failures that I had in my previous experiences in business. So, you know, I'm a big believer that you learn the most when that happens. And I think that that's a very, those two things, like just seeing the model of entrepreneurship and understanding that it was challenging. And sometimes you just have to pack it up and put it away.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I think, as you correctly say, you know, as long as you learn from the failures and you go, didn't have enough resources for that one, I need to just make sure I got enough, cover all these 5 bases as you put it in your course. That is really important. Well, that has been a fantastic interview. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't, that you'd like to bring up?
Not that I can think of. This was really great. It was super fun to talk to you, and it's good to know that that what I'm teaching the clinicians is what's being taught in business as well, right? Like that we're on the similar page, because that's validation in and of itself. So I'm glad.
Oh, absolutely. You're doing an amazing job for your community. It's fantastic. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining me on this interview. It has been a ride. I really enjoyed it. It's been fun. Doing an amazing job. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much again for having me.
Brilliant. You have been listening to the Talking Business with Gordon podcast with Gordon De Silva. Next week. So join me next week where we're going to be talking to Christelle Bantel. Now, Christelle is a technology wizard, and we're going to be talking about website landing pages with her. The technology is a massive subject, and we decided that we would pick Christelle's brain to discuss website landing pages, which are so important in business today. So join me then. Thank you for listening to the Talking Business with Gordon podcast.